ನಡೆವ ಸಂತ ಲೋಕಾದ್ಯಂತ ನಡೆವ ಸಂತ ಆ ಧ್ರುವ ಮಂಡಲದಿಂದ ಆ ಧ್ರುವ ಮಂಡಲದಿಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಕಡಲಿಗೆ ಹಾರಿದು ಮುಗಿದ ಮೊರೆಯುವ ಕಡಲಿಗೆ ಹಾರಿದು ಮುಗಿದ ತೆರೆಗಳ ಸೀಳಿದ ಈಜಿದ ನುಗ್ಗಿದ ತೆರೆಗಳ ಸೀಳಿದ ಈಜಿದ ನುಗ್ಗಿದ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಬಂಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೂರಿದ ಬಾನೆತ್ತರ ಬೆಳೆದ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಗೋಪುರವಾದ ಬಾನೆತ್ತರ ಬೆಳೆದ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಗೋಪುರವಾದ ಆ ಧ್ರುವ ಮಂಡಲದಿಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ. ದಕ್ಷಿಣೇಶ್ವರದ ವಿದ್ಯುತ್ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ಕೋಶಾಗಾರ ಪೂರ್ವ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಂತಿಯ ಹಾಯಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟನು ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಆಹಾರ. ದಕ್ಷಿಣೇಶ್ವರದ ವಿದ್ಯುತ್ ಕೇಂದ್ರದ ಕೋಶಾಗಾರ ಪೂರ್ವ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಂತಿಯ ಹಾಯಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟನು ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಆಹಾರ. ಕೊಲಂಬೋದಿಂದ ಆಲ್ಮೋರದ ತನಕವು ಇವನದೆ ಮಿಂಚಿನ ತೇರು ಕೊಲಂಬೋದಿಂದ ಆಲ್ಮೋರದ ತನಕವು ಇವನದೆ ಮಿಂಚಿನ ತೇರು. ಇವನಡಿಗಳ ನುಡಿಗಳ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಕ್ಕೆ ಝಕ್ಕನೆ ಹತ್ತದೆ ಇದ್ದವರಾರು. ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ. ವಜ್ರದ ಮೈ ಉಕ್ಕಿನ ನರಕುಣಿ ಮಿಂಚಿನ ಕಣ್ಣು ಹುಡುಗಿನ ದನಿ ಹೊನಲಿನ ನಡೆಯದೆ ಬೆಳದಿಂಗಳ ಹಣ್ಣು. ವಜ್ರದ ಮೈ ಉಕ್ಕಿನ ನರಕುಣಿ ಮಿಂಚಿನ ಕಣ್ಣು ಹುಡುಗಿನ ದನಿ ಹೊನಲಿನ ನಡೆಯದೆ ಬೆಳದಿಂಗಳ ಹಣ್ಣು. ಕವಿ ಋಷಿ ಯೋಗಿ ಸಂತ ಕವಿ ಋಷಿ ಯೋಗಿ ಸಂತ ಲೋಕಾದ್ಯಂತ ನಡೆವ ಸಂತ ಲೋಕಾದ್ಯಂತ ನಡೆವ ಸಂತ ಆ ಧ್ರುವ ಮಂಡಲದಿಂದ ಆ ಧ್ರುವ ಮಂಡಲದಿಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ ಓ ಬಂದ. शक्ति श्री शारदा देवी ओ महामाता श्रीरामतिनाराध्यन्तु मोयं मनिन्नो श्री शारदा देवी ओ महामाता Sri Ramakrishna Gurudeva Samprita. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of the life of direct disciples. We were now looking into the life of Swami Swatmaramananda Maharaj. We will continue from where we had left in the last session. Swami Swatmaramananda Maharaj is telling that our master Ramakrishna says that as rainwater does not stand upon high ground, but always seeks the lowest level. Similarly, those who are puffed up with vanity, ego, cannot retain any faith in themselves. For faith always seeks the heart of humble and the meek. So here we are talking about the ego. Our identification with this false ego causes all the problem in our life. So here Ramakrishna is giving the example of a mound of earth or stone. If how much ever water you pour, rainwater or whatever water you pour upon that, it doesn't get collected, it flows away. Whereas if it is a low pit within, so the water gets collected. Likewise, in our heart, if we have this mound of ego, then the Lord's grace doesn't get collected. Instead, it will flow away. The Lord is always compassionate on all of us and is always trying to shower grace on us. But if we have this ego, then it doesn't get collected there. Instead, if we have the vessel-like thing or the pit-like humility, so automatically whatever the Lord sends us, the Guru gives us the grace in the form of the water, in the form of the grace, it gets collected there. Here one more thing is given. Another aspect of the trouble of the ego is told by Swatmaramananda ji as the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. And what is those who are puffed up with vanity or ego or pride, mada, ahankara, cannot retain any faith in themselves. So here, faith, what is the reason for the lack of faith? So faith in oneself and faith in God. Faith in the words of the Guru. You cannot retain it, or you cannot have that faith because of ego. Ego is the main culprit. doesn't allow you to increase the faith in God, increase the faith in yourself, increase the faith in the words of the Guru. So now we have found such a great troublemaker is our ego. It doesn't give you devotion. It will not allow you to increase your spiritual life. It does not allow the faith to increase. These are all the very, very important things of spiritual life. So all that will vanish. And on the contrary, your anger will increase. Your desire, cupid, your lust will increase. Your greed will increase. All the negativity will start increasing if we have this vanity or ego or pride. So you cannot retain any faith in yourself. For faith always seeks the heart of the humble and the meek. One of the sayings in Sanskrit is Vidya dadati vinayam vinayat yanti patratvat. What is the meaning of this verse? Vidya, the more knowledge you get, the more wisdom you get. What is the result? Why should we get more knowledge or wisdom? Vidya dadati. That's why you see the name Vidya Arthi, Vidyarthi, student. So student means one who is craving, one who is thirsty, one who is hungry for knowledge. He is always wanting to gain more and more knowledge. Why? What does he get from that? See, we are always asking, what do I get out of it? So Vidya Dadati Vinayam. It gives us Vinayata, humility. So you will get a bigger, the more the knowledge has to give you Vinayata, humility. That means a bigger vessel in your heart to collect the grace of God. So instead of getting humility, the way we are seeing in the Western form of education, the more we are getting educated or literates, our ego is increasing, our vanity, our pride is increasing. So that means it is not real education. The more knowledge, the more vidya, it should give you more humility. You have to become humbler day by day. Have you seen once when Newton, the great scientist, who's acclaimed even now, he has already gone from this earth many, many years back, maybe more than 100 years, because Swami Vivekananda also quotes some of the Newton's laws. So it's more than 150 or 100 and 200 years. So now, at that time, he was acclaimed to be the greatest of the scientists. And somebody praised him, "Sir, what a great man of knowledge, what a great scientist you are." What is the reply of that great scientist, Newton? He humbly told, "No, sir, I'm not at all a great scientist. I'm not at all a man of knowledge." "How is that, sir? You are acclaimed to be one of the greatest scientists. Nobody is there like you." To which Newton replied, "I'm not at all great. What is my greatness? How much of knowledge do I have? I'm only collecting pebbles, sandstone or pebbles, sand on the shore of knowledge. Just like on the seashore, you go there, you are not gone to the sea, ocean, but on the shore, you are collecting some sand particles or some shells of the mollusk or some starfish or some pebbles on the shore. So I'm picking just pebbles. That is the amount of knowledge I have got. I've not even touched the shore, the ocean of knowledge. I've not even gone near it. I'm just on the shore. I'm picking some pebbles. That's all knowledge I have." That was the humility. So Vidya Dadati Vinayam. Why should we get Vidya? Why should we get education? True education, not just literacy. Why should I get educated. Why should I get Vidya? Because it will make you more humble and humble. How? When you see that you have gained only little knowledge and there is so much to learn. Even this hundreds of this life, this one life, I don't know how much of knowledge can I gain. I'm wasting so much of my time. So when you see that there is so much of knowledge which I have not even touched or seen, then I get humbler by the day. I feel there is so much to gain. I have gained only little. So you become more humble. So little knowledge, alpa gnani mahagarvi. So empty vessel makes more noise. Person of little knowledge, he becomes more egoistic. So if anybody is egoistic, if anybody is too much, having too much of vanity and pride, know for certain that he has very, very, very little iota of education or knowledge. The more a person is humbler, not the drama of humility, true humility, then he is having more knowledge. The ocean full of water, gambhira, it will be very special, you see. Likewise, too much of knowledge, that person will be very humble. Gambhira. So, faith, devotion, everything will go to the winds if you have ego. So know for certain if somebody is getting angry, somebody is behaving very badly, ego, vanity, pride, too much of pride, then it is certain that person doesn't have knowledge or education. Too less. So vidya dadati vinayam, humility. Why should I get humility? First of all, why should I get knowledge? For humility, vinayata. Why should I get humility? Because vinayat yanti patratvat. Patra means you will get more eligibility. You will get more capacity to earn more knowledge. Otherwise, there is no space to collect because the ego, the pride, vanity is occupying the space in your heart. So there is no space for you to collect the knowledge, wisdom. So that's why with vinayat, more humility, yanti, you get patratvat. The vessel become bigger and bigger to collect more knowledge and knowledge. You can get capacity to get more educated. That is the speciality of vidya. That is the speciality of humility. That is the speciality out of humility. And there is no ego. Opposite of egoism is humility. So when there is humility, you can get more knowledge, more wisdom. So you know the secret. What is the result you should get out of education? Knowledge, wisdom, humility. What if you get humility, more and more humility? You get more and more knowledge of God or knowledge of anything, whatever you want, you can get it. So in the similar fashion, Ramakrishna used to tell, if the ego is there, what happens? A person was sitting in his room. Ramakrishna held an open towel in front of him, big towel, and then he spread that towel, catching hold of it by the edges of the towel, 2 hands. And because that towel was spread from top to bottom, he asked the other person who was sitting there, "Can you see me?" "No, I can't see you, sir." "Why?" "Because the towel is obstructing your vision. I can't see you. Even though I'm so near to you, I'm sitting just in front of you, I can't see it." Then Ramakrishna, after this demonstration, he tells, "Yes, can you see now? The Lord, the Paramatman, the Parabrahman, the highest, infinite bliss, infinite knowledge, infinite existence, infinite being, infinite consciousness, absolute, is so near to you. Is nearer than your father, mother, your mind, your body. But why can't I see, why can't I experience God? Because that ego is obstructing it. See, what a great loss. We have all that in infinity. SPH, security, infinite. Peace, infinite. Happiness, infinite. Bliss, infinite. Within ourselves, then why can't we experience that, be happy? Why are we suffering? Ego is obstructing it. Another thing of ego, Ramakrishna is to tell. Suppose there is a big function, the owner or the person who is conducting that function will be very busy. So there will be a storeroom which has all the costly things. So you cannot open up the storeroom. Thousands of people will be there in the function. It can be stolen. So the owner will be always locking it up. Now he cannot be there to give the things for the cooks and other people, costly things from the store. So what will he do? If there is a responsible person, elderly person, he'll give the lock and key to look after that store. So he will be there always in the store or near the store, and they will be opening that lock and giving whatever they want, costly things. So Ramakrishna gives this example. He tells, until unless the person who's looking after the store is there inside the store or near the store, then the owner of the house, owner of the family will never come nearby, because somebody else is there, is looking after, he has taken the responsibility. So the owner of the house will never come there. So now who is the owner of the house in our personality? The Lord, Paramatman, Parabrahman. So now you have kept in this store of your heart, in your mind, in your store of your heart, the costly things, gems and everything is there. So you have kept another person, the ego. So until that person is there to take care of, the Lord will never come. You have kept the ego, so what is the work for me? He will not come. When that person called ego, the storekeeper, is not there, he goes away, then automatically, without any delay, the Lord will be manifested there. So these are the beautiful examples given by Ramakrishna. So Subodhanandaji has told that our master says that as the rain, water does not stand upon high ground, but always seeks the lowest level. Similarly, those who are puffed up with vanity, pride, ego cannot retain any faith in themselves. For faith always seeks the hearts of the humble and the meek. Because we take resolution, we resolve that we will not get angry, we will not hurt people. I'll become a good man, I'll give up my sinful tendencies. But the next day, you are the same old person, the same anger, or it might have increased. Why? All that is because of ego. Then you will be asking the question, why can't I move forward in spiritual life? The reason is ego. So give up that vanity, useless, false ego, vanity, pride, anger. The offshoot of all that thing is anger, lust. So all the other things will follow. So give up this ego, be humble, then all these things, the good things, the positive things will come into you. Now, Swami Subodhanandaji is continuing, is telling, as long as there are quarrels among different individuals and sects, they do not rise up to realize the highest truth. Why is there bloodshed in the name of God? Why are people fighting that my God is great, your God is not great, low? I'm greater, my religion is better. Why all this fight? I think there is no other reason for the bloodshed than in the name of God. So more blood has been shed on this earth, peaceful earth, this wonderful earth, because of this vanity, ego, and this fanaticism. So about that, Ramakrishna is telling, and Subodhanandaji is connecting that to us. What is he telling? As long as there are quarrels, when there is ego, when there is this fanaticism among different individuals and sects, they do not rise up to realize the highest truth. They cannot go up and find God, the truth. Why? The ego, the vanity, the fanaticism is obstructing. I am great, my religion is great, my God is great. But on the contrary, when the truth shines in the darkness of ignorance and its crew of narrowness, so when ignorance is there, automatically the crew, suppose the captain of the ship is there, the crew will be there always. So likewise, when the truth shines, when Lord comes to your heart, the darkness of ignorance and its crew of narrowness, bigotry and fanaticism that deluge the earth with murder and bloodshed shall all vanish. There will be peace. My God is true. My path is correct. My clock only shows the right time. My God is true. True God. Your God is false God. My path is the best. You are always wrong. Are the words of the men groping in the darkness of ignorance. Once, Subodhanandaji Maharaj is narrating, once Keshav Chandra Sen, the leader of the Brahma Samaj, asked our master Sri Ramakrishna, since there is only one God, how is that there are so many sects quarreling with one another? The master replied, you see, people always quarrel over their lands, properties, and other things of the world, saying, this land is mine, and that land is yours. In this way, they divide this earth in various ways by drawing fences, lines of demarcation. They'll put the barbed wires, the compounds, so much of security. They divide this peaceful earth in various ways by drawing lines of demarcation to distinguish their respective properties. But do anybody quarrel about the open space that is above the earth? For that belongs to none, as there can be no line drawn on it to distinguish one's property. Can you draw a line in the water, in the river? It vanishes. So because the space and all these things belongs to none, as there can be drawn no line on it to distinguish one's property from that of another. Similarly, Ramakrishna is telling, when the mind rises, see, if you are on the ground, you can divide all these, this is my property, that is my property. If you rise up to the space, infinite space, can you divide it? No. Likewise, you have to rise up to the level in the spirituality, to the higher level of evolution. Then you cannot divide that space. Then you will come to know that the Lord is one. There is no high or low or great or anything like that. When the mind rises above all worldly concerns, he can have no occasion to quarrel at all. For then he reaches a certain point which is the common goal of all. Then he will come to know, when he rises, his mind is purified. He moves forward in the real spirituality. Then he sees that it's the same God, called by different name, reached by different path. Same God whom they are also calling, whom I am calling, whom all the different sects are calling. It's the same God. The way Ramakrishna used to give the example of the water. There's a water body, a reservoir. So the Englishmen go collect the same water, take the same water, call it water. The Greeks call it aqua. Then the Muslims will call it pani. Then the Hindus will call it jala. But is it all different? You are coming from different directions and collecting the water, giving its different name according to your samskara. But is it different water? The name is different. The vessel you are bought to collect it is different. That's all. And the path to come to that is different. But the water is the same. So likewise, when a man realizes God, he cannot quarrel. But when he is below the right mark, when he is at the lower level, that is when he is having this pride and ego, when he is away from God, distant from God, he is more or less given to quarreling. Although you may have many occasions for it, and thus at last, end of all these disagreements by realizing universal harmony and agreement, which are only to be found in God, who is both within and without you. So God is present within and without. What is within? Yourself. Without, outside. Antaha bahya. So within and without. So God is present everywhere. So when you try to realize God, when you move forward in spiritual life, then gradually all these differences, the quarrel will go on reducing, and when you find the truth, then there will be no quarrel. It is peace and peace alone. Now Subodhananda Ji Maharaj is telling about Ramakrishna and his teaching. Now what happened in 1892? The Ramakrishna monastery was moved from Varahanagara or Baranagar in Calcutta to Alam Bazar, again in Calcutta, near Dakshineshwar. Between his travels, Subodhananda lived in the monastery with his brother disciples. The monastery was in an extremely poor financial condition. One day, Swami Sharadananda, another direct disciple, and Subodhananda went to Girish Chandra Ghosh, a Bohemian devotee of the master, as well as a great actor and playwright. When Girish Chandra Ghosh was approached for money, because the ashrama was in poor condition, Girish bluntly said, "Where is any money?" Then Subodhananda replied jokingly, "Now you are not ready to give the necessary help for the monastery? Now Sharat Maharaj will grab you, and I shall take the money, breaking your box. What will you do then?" So Girish Chandra Ghosh extended his hand to Subodhananda and said, "First try to bend my fingers. After that you will grab me and take away my money." First he held his hand and the finger straight. First bend my fingers. Just the one of the finger, bend one of the finger, and after bending that, let you people try to catch hold of me, and then you can take away the money. Girish extended his hand to Subodhananda and said, "First try to bend my finger." Girish was extremely strong. He was the avatar of Bhairava. Ramakrishna used to tell, it is Bhairava, the fierce aspect of Shiva, who has taken this form of Girish Chandra Ghosh. Girish was extremely strong. When Subodhananda failed to bend his finger, Girish said to his secretary, "Avinash, whatever money I have in my treasury or in the box, please give everything to the monks." Girish Chandra Ghosh fed both the Swamis and told Subodhananda, "Subodh, I am a wild horse. Only the best jockey can handle me." Kokha was the pet name. Though he has now become a monk, Girish Chandra Ghosh is an elderly person, seen him from his childhood. So he's addressing him as a small child. Koka, I see you will be able to deal with me. Ramakrishna dealt with me easily, but now after that I see that only you can bend me. I see, Koka, you will be able to deal with me. Now, what was his relationship with Swami Vivekananda, the leader of the monastics? Ramakrishna had made Narendra or Swami Vivekananda as the leader of all the other monks, the direct disciple. After Vivekananda returned from the West in 1897, he founded the Ramakrishna mission, May 1st. So recently it was celebrated, and all over the world, Ramakrishna Ashrama, Matha and mission is celebrating this. Why? 125 years has elapsed after the formation of this Ramakrishna Math and mission by Swami Vivekananda and other direct disciples. 125 years. So May 1st. So when was that founded? After Vivekananda returned from the West in 1897, he founded the Ramakrishna mission. He asked his brother disciple to propagate practical Vedanta, not just theories, not just the simple scriptures, but how to practice it in our day-to-day life. Get the benefit of the scriptures, get happiness, get joy, get peace, come out of the sorrow. So that is practical. See, when you gain lot of knowledge of science, it is just a knowledge. It is of no use to you. So the knowledge of science has to be converted into technology. Then only you will get the benefit of that science. Otherwise, it is just pure knowledge. It's of no use, pure science. But there are great scientists who will convert it into patents, into technology by which it can be used for the benefit of the humanity. Then only the science is converted into technology or useful purpose. So it is practical science. Technology is practical science. Likewise, here Vivekananda and Ramakrishna coming to this world as the Avatara Purushas. What did they do special? So it was just philosophy. All the knowledge of our scriptures was just for the pundits or the scholars to make intellectual gymnastics and show off their scholarship. But what did Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda do? They converted this knowledge of the scriptures, which was coming to us from thousands and thousands of years, maybe 1 million years, 60,000 years. That knowledge is flowing down. So it has become diluted. So now they are invigorating, reinventing how that great knowledge of Veda and Vedanta and our scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, can be put into practice. Why? What will happen if you put it into practice, bring it to our level? Then you can reap the benefit of it. You can get nourished by it. You'll become strong. You'll become healthy. You'll become happy. What is the important result you get after you put that into practice, the Vedanta, the scriptures, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita into your life? All your pain is gone. All your miseries are gone. You will find peace, eternal peace. So that's why Vivekananda is telling here, asking the disciples of Ramakrishna to propagate practical Vedanta, not just the scriptures. How can this Vedanta or the scriptures give the common man the food, the facilities? How can it give him joy? How can it make him more strong and stand upon his own feet and break all the bondages and come away from all the miseries? That is practical Vedanta. So after returning from the West in 1897, Vivekananda founded the Ramakrishna mission. What for? to spread the teaching, the practical Vedantic teaching. What for? To give more food, to give more joy, to give more enjoyment for the humanity. So Vivekananda asked his brother disciples to propagate practical Vedanta as taught by Sri Ramakrishna for the good of humanity. Not just you should make one more sect or one more organization, add one more god into that pantheon, Hindu pantheon. No. Because to do good to the humanity. That is why Ramakrishna has come. Before this, most of the disciples had either lived in seclusion and practiced spiritual disciplines, or had wandered throughout the country as itinerant monks. Swami Vivekananda wanted his brother disciples to become accustomed to speaking in public, because now to go to the masses, you should articulate, you should communicate to the common mass, not to the scholars, not to the rich, but to the common mass, to the poor, to the needy. So all that knowledge has to be carried so that they can become strong and invigorated. So the art of communicating, now Vivekananda is teaching them, wanted his brother disciples to become accustomed to speaking in the public. So he persuaded them to give weekly lectures by turn. If you have to learn the art of communicating, then you should start talking. Without starting, suddenly it can't come. So every week in the monastery, Swami Vivekananda introduced the public speaking. So he persuaded all the direct disciples to give weekly lectures by turn in the Alam Bazar monastery. Now in that old dilapidated building in the Alam Bazar monastery, now that day was Subodhananda's turn. Every week, one direct disciple had to do the public speaking. When Subodhananda's turn came, he tried in vain to be excused. He wanted to escape. He didn't like to lecture. So he tried to escape. When Subodhananda's turn to do the public speaking came, he tried in vain to be excused. The other monks thought that this was very funny. So they know he's like a small child. He'll do a lot of jokes. And now, because he doesn't know, he's afraid of public speaking, he'll be in trouble. So everybody wanted to enjoy the predicament of Koka, the child, Swami Subodhananda. So other monks thought that this was very funny. And they gathered in large numbers because they wanted to take the fun of the situation, of the problem of Subodhananda. So they assembled in big numbers. The other monks thought that this was very funny and gathered eagerly in the hall to watch Kokha or Subodhananda make a fool of himself. He tried hard to escape, but Vivekananda is not relenting. At last, Subodhananda mounted the platform, the pulpit, miserable and unwilling, and he just opened his mouth to speak. But before he could say even a word, the building began to vibrate and rock. The earth began to shake, and trees crashed down outside. Everything was falling down. There was pell-mell. What was that? Why did it happen? Why was that happening? That was the devastating earthquake of 12th June 1897. That was the day, that was the time, that was the second on which the devastating, a very big earthquake happened in and around Calcutta. 12th June 1897. Now the meeting was dissolved. No other way, because the whole ground is shaking, the building is about to fall, the trees are crashing. So the meeting was dissolved. Swami Vivekananda now humorously would tell afterwards, well, Kuka, Subodhanandaji is addressed by Swami Vivekananda. Is telling, Koka, you have made an earth-shaking speech. All laughed, including Subodhananda. So Swami Vivekananda humorously told, well, Koka, you have made an earth-shaking speech. Swami Vivekananda noticed that this Kokar, Swami Subodhananda, avoided women. He didn't even talk to them, because Ramakrishna's teaching was that a monk should not mix with the other group or sex, because the latent desires in the mind, the old samskaras may come up. Why to give that chance? So Ramakrishna used to tell his monastic disciples to be very strict, not even to see the face of a woman. So all these disciples used to follow it to the words, the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. It's not only women. He tell the woman disciple to do the same, to be away from the opposite sex, so that the bad thoughts, which are inimical to spiritual life, should not prop up in our mind. So if this aspirant is man, he would try to tell them to avoid the opposite. And if they are women, to try to stop the meeting of the opposite. So now Swami Vivekananda is watching that Subodhananda avoided women. He didn't even talk to them. One day Swami Vivekananda said to Koka, why are you avoiding women? Women devotees come to hear about Sri Ramakrishna. Please talk to them. If you avoid them, where will they go? How are you looking at them? Why do you want to look at from that negative perspective? You've already gone, okay, for the beginners in spiritual life, that should be the attitude. But you have already gone forward, you have received the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. What is their true nature? What is the true nature of the woman? Swami Vivekananda is telling they are the manifestations of the Divine Mother. All the women in this world, they are the real manifestation of the Divine Mother. Treat them as your mother or your daughter. Treat all the women as your mother or your daughter. So after this instruction, see, this is not an ordinary person. The Shiva Avatara, one of the greatest of the Saptarshis, Swami Vivekananda, the chief disciple of Ramakrishna. Now he's telling, what is he telling? These are all wonderful things. All the men, even women, they have to note this. Who are the women? Vivekananda is telling, they are the manifestation of Divine Mother, Durga or Kali or Lakshmi or Saraswati, whatever you may call, Sharada. So all the women, see, these things are to be taught to from the childhood. They should be instilled with these pure thoughts. Then where can be the crime? Where can be the trouble to the women folk? Everybody will treat with great care, take care of them with great respect. So now, what is Swami Vivekananda is telling about the women? All the women are manifestations of Divine Mother. Treat them. How should we treat them? How should we treat the girl, the mother, the women folk? Swami Vivekananda is directly telling, treat them as your mother or as your daughter. We have seen in India, in our childhood, all the time when we were growing, how would the elders, the men folk, treat their daughters or the women folk, even when they are baby in the cradle? The girls, they used to address them as mother, ma or amma. So we have seen that. Even a small child, girl child, is addressed as his own mother. So call all, they used, I have seen the elders calling even a baby in the cradle, Amma or Ma, mother. And see, where is the root? Here, our tradition. And who are the guardians of our tradition? The great saints. Swami Vivekananda is telling, all the women are manifestation of the Divine Mother. Treat them as your mother or daughter. From then on, Swami Subodhananda would associate with women and address them Mai. Mai means mother. With great respect, Mai. When Vivekananda's Western women devotees came to Belur, he would send Subodhananda to look after them and supply their needs. Once Swami Subodhananda said to Swami Vivekananda, "Brother, please excuse me. I can neither speak English properly, nor can I understand their language." To which Swami Vivekananda said, "My dear brother, you need not, you will not have to worry about that. Then how should I communicate with them? How should I talk to them? I do not know good English. I do not know their language." When those women, Western disciple, Europeans, when they tell you, "Thank you," then what are you to? Swami Vivekananda is training Subodhananda. When those Western women disciples come and talk to you, I'm teaching you, you learn English. When they tell you thank you for any work you do for them, what should you reply? When they tell you thank you, Swami Vivekananda is training, you say to them, "I don't care." However, when Subodhananda followed Swami Vivekananda's instruction, when those Western women, when he did some work to them, they told thank you, and Subodhananda had learnt it from Vivekananda, told "I don't care." However, when Subodhananda followed Swami Vivekananda's instruction, the women devotees, the Western devotees were puzzled. They laughed when they discovered that it was Swami Vivekananda's mischief on Subodhananda. From his boyhood, Swami Subodhananda loved to drink tea. His favorite drink was tea. You know that when Ramakrishna was having the beginning of that cancer, doctors are prescribing so many different medicine in those days, 150 years back. So, do you know what was the prescription given by Coca? Very childlike. He told, "It will cure your cancer, please drink tea. Please take hot tea, then that cancer of yours will be cured." Why? From his boyhood, Swami Subodhananda loved to drink tea. One night at Belur, Swami Vivekananda was meditating in his room. Brahmananda and Subodhananda were sleeping in the next room. When Swami Vivekananda finished his meditation, he woke up Subodhananda and asked him to do some personal service to him, bring something. He asked him if he would mind bringing him the pipe to smoke. Subodhananda did so. He did the personal service to Vivekananda. And now Vivekananda, who had gone to very deep meditation, he was in a very high state of mind. Subodhananda did this personal service to him. He was very pleased. And he exclaimed impulsively, "Kokha, ask me a boon, any boon I will give you today. Whatever you want. You want Brahmagnana? You want the highest? You want to rule the planet? You want to become a king? Whatever you want, any boon you ask, I will give you." Swami Vivekananda, after that meditation, he was in a very high mood. When Subodhananda served him, that too at the night, Then Vivekananda was in a very high mood, told, any boon you ask for shall be granted today. Ask me of any boon. Then Subodhananda started worrying. What could I possibly ask from Vivekananda? What could I possibly ask for? Said Subodhananda, the Master gave us everything we needed. The highest in spiritual life, Samadhi, the highest state of yoga, union with God, everything has been given by Master to me. So what do I need? Master gave us everything we needed. But Brahmananda said, no. Vivekananda is in a very high mood. Don't waste this opportunity. Ask something. No khoka, ask for something. So Subodhananda considered carefully, what shall I ask? And then said, okay, Swamiji, grant me this, that I may never for the rest of my life miss my daily cup of tea. That was the boon. Could have asked vision of the God, constant deep meditation, to stay in Samadhi, to get Brahmagnana, to get liberation. All the highest things you could have asked. Swamiji would have easily given. That was the high state. He had so much of spirituality. But now, Kuka is telling, Ramakrishna has given me everything. What shall I ask? Brahmanandaji is insisting, no, don't waste this opportunity, ask something. Then after careful consideration, he said, oh Swamiji, grant me this, that I may never for the rest of my life miss my daily cup of tea. Because he would be going out as an itinerant monk, he would be traveling here and there on foot. So not one single day should I miss tea, because he loved taking tea. So that was the boon he asked. Grant me this, Swamiji, that I may never for the rest of my life miss my daily cup of tea. Many years later, after this event, Subodhananda was asked by one of his disciples or a young monk whether this boon of Swami Vivekananda had really been granted. Swami Subodhananda answered that it had, and that the tea had sometimes arrived without his expectation, just as he was about to go to sleep at night. Some days it was highly impossible to get a tea, because I would be wandering here and there like an itinerant monk. I would be in the forest, I would be in the hills and dales and Himalayas. There was that particular day, there was no chance of getting any tea. But how can the boon of that great Shiva Avatar Swami Vivekananda be untrue? Somehow, Subodhanandaji is telling, he answered that it had come true, the boon had come true, and that the tea had sometimes arrived without his expectation, just as he was about to go to sleep at night. Swami Subodhananda was among the first group of trustees of Belur Mutt appointed by Swami Vivekananda, because Swami Vivekananda wanted to make Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, the ashram, as a democratic body. So the trustees were selected, the general secretary would be there would be the president, and it would all go through the democratic process. So Swami Subodhananda was among the first group of trustees of Belur Mutt appointed by Swami Vivekananda himself in 1901. Later, Swami Subodhananda was elected the treasurer of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission. First he became the trustee, then he was given the responsibility of being the treasurer of Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission. Subodhananda's love for Swami Vivekananda was second only to his love for Master Ramakrishna. Swami Vivekananda also had great affection for Subodhananda. Sometimes when Swamiji would become so serious, none of the other direct disciples, none of his brother's disciples dared to approach him in that serious mood. It was left to Koka Maharaj to go and interrupt this mood of Swami Vivekananda. He was not at all afraid. He was so close to Vivekananda. The moment Vivekananda sees this childlike Subodh, then all that serious mood would go away and it would become a jovial atmosphere. Subodhananda narrated the following incident. One night, Swamiji, that is Swami Vivekananda, was reading a book while lying on his stomach. He was extremely serious. The dinner bell was rung, but Vivekananda could not hear it. We were all waiting for him in the dining hall. When nobody dared to call Swami Vivekananda, now Swami Brahmananda asked me, that is Subodhananda, to call Swami Vivekananda. I silently went to his room, looked at the page number, which Vivekananda was immersed in reading that book, lying on his stomach. So carefully, this Subodhanandaji went there. He saw which page number he was reading. I silently went to his room, looked at the page number, and abruptly closed the book. Swami Vivekananda said angrily, "Koka, you rascal, why did you close my book? Now how can I find out that page number? Now how shall I know where I was reading?" Now I immediately opened the book and showed him the exact place. Then I said, "Please come for supper, all are waiting in the dining hall. The food will be cold and all are waiting for you." Then Swami Vivekananda was very happy. That serious mood was gone. He came to the dining room and ate with us. Subodhananda was very fond of traveling. Between his stays at Belur Math in 1899, he visited Almora in the Himalayas. Then he visited Mayavati. We all have our ashramas there now. Almora, Mayavati. And also Subodhananda went to Kedarnatha and Badrinatha in the deep of Himalayas. The next year, he went to Navadvip. I had recently, when I went to India, I went to this place, Navadvip. What is Navadvip? It is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he went to Darjeeling, a hill station in the Himalayas. And in Assam, the Divine Mother's place, Shaktipita Kamakhya. He visited all these places in 1902. Swami Subodhananda revisited Mayavati and was there when Swami Vivekananda passed away here. In 1905, Subodhananda went to Almora again to recover from Kala Azar, a serious infectious disease which had come. So the British would introduce so many virus and bacteria, just like nowadays, they experiment with microbes. So many different viruses and bacteria are introduced to the poor country, and the pharmaceutical company and the rich countries, they want to make money. So they will introduce their own new varieties of viruses, and then they will make money out of it. That is happening, you can see now. Likewise, then the British used to do that then too. So they used to bring in, plague was not there, so many other diseases were not there. It was the British who introduced all of them, and it would wipe out the population of India. Wherever they wanted places, they used to bring in disease and they used to be wiped out there, and then they would occupy that place. Or they used to create artificial famine, take away the food material forcibly, and people would die like vermins. So this way, British used to rule India. Now, this new disease has come, Kala Azar. People were dying. So now, Swami Subodhananda ji had got this disease, Kala Azar. So in 1905, he went to Almora again to recover from this serious infectious disease, Kala Azar. As a trustee of the Ramakrishna order, Subodhananda shouldered the responsibility of philanthropic activities with his brother disciple. Swami Vivekananda insisted that the sannyasins and all the other devotees of Ramakrishna, they should see the manifestation of divinity, God, in all the poor people, the diseased people, and serve them, seeing God in every human being. So as a trustee of the Ramakrishna order, Subodhananda shouldered the responsibility for philanthropic activities with his brother disciples. During the plague epidemic in Calcutta in 1899, he worked very hard to relieve the suffering of the helpless, panic-stricken people. Swami Subodhananda had a very tender heart, and sometimes he begged money from others to help poor patients with food and medicine. Because they are penniless monks, where will they get the money? But they are seeing people suffering. You have to get them diet, medicine, or anything. Then what would Subodhananda do? He would go and beg on the streets money so that he could help poor patients with food and medicine. One family near Belur Monastery was saved from starvation and death by the Swamis. By the kindness of this Swami Subodhananda. Whenever he heard that anyone was sick or needed help, he would immediately go to his or her aid. In 1908, there was a great famine in the Chilka region of Orissa. So it's a neighboring state of Bengal, Orissa. It's on the top of Andhra Pradesh, and that state, Orissa, which was earlier called as Kalinga. Or you see in our national anthem, Janagana Mana Adinayaka Jayahe, there you get Utkala. So another name for that state is Utkal. So that is Orissa, state of Orissa. Bengal is called as Vanga or Banga. Bihar and that area is called as Anga. This is called Kalinga also. Orissa is also called Kalinga. Anga, Vanga, Kalinga, Utkala. So Orissa, another name for this region is. So there is a very big lake. The biggest, I don't know whether in India or the other places too, in Asia. Very big lake that is called Chilka Lake. So that is in the region of Chilka. So in 1908, there was a great famine in the Chilka region of the Orissa. Subodhananda threw himself heart and soul into the relief work because there was famine, no food. People were dying out of starvation. So Subodhananda, that is another state, threw himself heart and soul into the relief work. He collected and distributed rice, lentils, and cloths among the famine-stricken people. He worked day and night without caring for his own food or rest. He was not at all bothered about his own food or rest. He worked hard. He worked day and night without caring for his own food and rest. And because of this, he became sick himself. Now he became too sick, no food, no rest, is continuously working. And because of that, Subodhananda became sick. What happened immediately? Sri Ramakrishna appeared before him. In flesh and blood, Ramakrishna appeared before him and said, Subodh, you will not have to do this work anymore. However, Subodhananda continued the relief work until the condition of the people improved. Subodhananda was extremely devoted to Holy Mother Sharda Devi. He visited Jairambati in 1891. Whom did he accompany? He was accompanied with Girish Chandra Ghosh and the other monastic disciple Swami Niranjanananda. In 1891, he visited Jairambati. He was highly devoted to Sharda Devi. In 1911, when Holy Mother Sharda Devi visited Belur Mutt, After her pilgrimage to the South India, Holy Mother visited in 1911. She came to Rameshwaram. She came to Chennai. That is, then it was called Madras. Then from there she came to Bangalore. And then she had also come to Andhra Pradesh on the bank of Godavari, Rajamundry. She took a bath in that river Godavari. So after coming from South Indian pilgrimage, Holy Mother Sharda Devi in 1911 came to Belur Math, visit Belur Math. Swami Brahmananda arranged a grand reception to Holy Mother Sharda Devi. For her, the shrine was decorated and all the monks and devotees stood in line as Holy Mother Sharda Devi walked slowly onto the monastery grounds. Swami Brahmananda announced that no one should break the line and rush to take the dust of the feet, because if one comes and takes the dust of the feet, then all the people will start rushing forward and it will be trouble to Holy Mother Sharda Devi. So Swami Brahmananda made a rule that all should stand in line. Nobody should come in between and touch the feet of the mother and trouble her. So Brahmananda announced that no one should break the line and rush to take the dust of the feet of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. But even after the instructions, suddenly, however, somebody came from behind the line, took the dust of Holy Mother's feet and disappeared into the crowd, ran away. Amused, Swami Brahmananda cried out, "Who is it? Who is it? Catch him." In spite of my telling, he came from behind and touched the feet of Holy Mother and ran away. Who is it? Catch him. Who was that? Everybody laughed, seeing Subodhananda's childlike nature. It was Subodhananda. Once Subodhananda was going to Calcutta from Belur Math by steamer. On the way, a few young men from Bali. So that is a place near Calcutta on the other side of Ganga. So that is called Bali. So it is just, Bali means sand in Bengali. After Dakshineshwar, on the exact opposite side of Dakshineshwar, on the other side of Ganga, on the Howrah district, or before going to Belur Math, we get this village called, or town, now presently a town, city called Bali. So on the way, few young men from Bali started criticizing Vivekananda. Now Subodhananda boldly told them, "Do you give any donation to Belur Math?" "No." "If so, please stop it from today." "What will you gain by criticizing Swami Vivekananda?" Neither will your criticism make Swami Vivekananda's hand fall off, nor will your praise help him grow 2 more hands. When he heard that those young men did not help Belur Math in any way, the Swami said, "Then why do you criticize unnecessarily? Nor can you shell a single cent help anybody, but you can criticize. That is the only thing you have. You can only give negativity." You have seen so many people. They just go on criticizing, talking ill of others, go on finding fault with others. Not 1 single cent will they donate or give it to anybody. But they are ready to give advice, free of cost advice and free of cost criticism, finding fault. What to do? What do they have inside? They give out that. Become so deep in nature, they don't understand it. They don't correct themselves too. When, after the Second World War, Germany was divided into East and the West. Berlin also had a wall, the Berlin Wall, famous, it was broken. When we were youths, we had seen that, the breaking of the Berlin Wall. Earlier, it was divided, the communist East Berlin or Germany and the democratic westernized West Berlin or West Germany. So now, there was 2 groups. That was, one was following the communist rule and the other democratic. Now the communist Berlin that is the East Berlin. They used to sweep, clean the Berlin, and they used to come and put all the dust and squalor, the filth, everything on the other side of the wall to West Germany. So West Germany people, other side of the wall, they used to clean it. They would not mind it. They would clean the whole thing, whatever their brothers from the East Berlin used to throw all the dust, filth and everything towards them. One day, what they did was, when they threw all the dust and other things, they very nicely from this side of the wall stacked bread, milk and all the good things to the East Berliners. And they had put a board. Whatever we have, we give it to others. That's all. That was enough. From that day, the East Berliners stopped putting dust and squalor and filth to the other side. We have bread, milk, we have in it kindness, we are giving it to you. You people have the dirt, squalor and filth. You have that bad nature, you are giving it to us. Thank you for that. So whatever we have, we give it to others. So likewise, you can see that these people are there, I have seen, just finding fault, criticizing others, no other job. Not one single sin, donation or something will they give. They will not help anybody, even a half a cent. But free advice, free criticism, all the negative things, whatever they have, they will heap poison, toxins, that's all they have, they give out. So here, when Subodhananda was accosted on the way in Bali, a few young men from Bali started criticizing Vivekananda and his work. Subodhananda boldly told them, do you give any donation to Belur Math? If so, please stop it from today. What will you gain by criticizing Swami Vivekananda? Neither will your criticism make Swamiji's hands fall off, nor will your praise help him grow 2 more hands. When he heard that those young men did not help Belur Math at all, the Swami said, then why do you criticize unnecessarily? Can you appreciate the work, the good work they do? You work like slaves and servants under English officers, and you lick their boots. You are given nice bootings. They will kick you with their boots. And in spite of that, you work like slaves under English officers, and you are supposed to flatter them, praise them. If you make any mistake, they will kick you with their boots. A few days later, the thing happened. See, if a sadhu of good nature tells something, that becomes true immediately. So you should be very, very careful with good people, saints, out of anger or out of your bad behavior. If they tell something, that will become true. So you should be very careful while handling them. So now, whatever Subodhananda told happened. A few days later, these young men came to Belur Math and apologized to Subodhananda. He told, Maharaj, the other day, out of sheer ignorance, we did wrong. And after that, whatever you told, your words came true. The British officers kicked out of the office. With their boots, they kicked us. And we were thrown out of the office. We were serving the British, we were working. Because we had that British work, we were so egoistic. And we criticized Vivekananda's work, good work. And it happened, whatever you told. And we were kicked out of the British office by the British officer with his boots. Whatever your words came true. So sorry, Maharaj. We are very sorry about what we told about the work of Swami Vivekananda. The other day, out of sheer ignorance, we did wrong. And now you see your words came true. We were kicked out of the office by the English officer. Subodhananda's love and respect for Swami Vivekananda was phenomenal. Once in Varanasi or Kashi, Swami Raghavananda asked Subodhananda, Maharaj, who is greater? He started comparing to one saint, Swami Trailinga Swami or Swami Vivekananda. Who is greater? He compared. He is asking Subodhananda, Maharaj, who is greater, Trailinga Swami or Swami Vivekananda? Subodhananda replied, Trailinga Swami is the greatest among men. Trailinga Swami is the greatest among men. Then what about Vivekananda? But Swami Vivekananda is Shiva himself. Trailinga Swami is the greatest among men, a saint who had realized the Lord, who had Brahmagnana. Then what about Swami Vivekananda? Subodhananda told, Swami Vivekananda is Shiva himself. If anybody criticized Swami Vivekananda, before the master, Sri Ramakrishna would say, here the Lord Shiva has been criticized. Shivaninda is the greatest sin. The people are afraid of doing Shivaninda. Daksha did the Shivaninda, and the Daksha Yagna Vinasha happened. All the people who had assembled were punished. So Shivaninda here, if anybody criticized or spoke ill of Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would say, here the Lord Shiva has been criticized. Please sprinkle little Ganga water, or else he would remove some certain portion of the mud, soil from that place, and then put new soil and sprinkle Ganga water on it to cleanse that place. Why? Shivaninda has taken place. If anybody criticized Vivekananda, Ramakrishna would get upset. He would tell, why? Because Shivaninda has happened here. Shiva has been criticized, so the place has become impure. So dig out the soil from that place, 7 cubits, and then put new soil, and then sprinkle Ganga water on it. So that was the respect Ramakrishna himself had towards Vivekananda. If anybody criticized or scolded, spoke ill of Vivekananda at that place, at any place, well, Shivaninda has happened. Here Lord Shiva has been criticized. Please sprinkle little Ganga water. These were the words of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa itself. That was the great respect, because Ramakrishna knew who Swami Vivekananda was. He knew the reality. And that's why Ramakrishna himself treated Vivekananda in that way with great respect. Once, now Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has given up the body long back, and Vivekananda gave up the body in his 39th year. After that, some of the devotees in some ashrama had placed the photo of Vivekananda on par with Ramakrishna. So the devotees, some of the devotees got irritated, angry, told, how can you place the photo of the disciple? Who is Narendra? Who is Vivekananda? He is a disciple, ordinary man. Who is Ramakrishna, the Avatar Purusha? You are placing the photo on par, equal to Vivekananda, equal to Ramakrishna. Then there was a big controversy. So what happened? Holy Mother was there at that time, still in body. They went, let us not quarrel. Let us not make it a big controversy. Let us go to Holy Mother and ask. So they went to Holy Mother Sharda Devi and asked, Mother, see, whatever they have done is wrong, isn't it? See, they have placed the photo of Swami Vivekananda on par with Ramakrishna's photo. Is not that wrong? No, what was the reply of Holy Mother Sharda Devi? She told, yes, they have committed a grave mistake, wrong. Yes, they were all happy. Then Mother told, if Ramakrishna was alive now, what would Ramakrishna do? Ramakrishna was alive, and if you had given him the photo of Vivekananda, what would he do? Ramakrishna would keep the photo of Vivekananda not by his side, but he would place that on his head. It was the reply. That was the greatness. You know, I will tell one more incident and we'll stop our discussion today. There was one disciple, Sanskrit scholar of Swami Vivekananda. All others were afraid to approach Vivekananda, but this disciple was very close. Used to freely talk to Vivekananda, so many questions. So all that questions Swami Vivekananda would answer him. And so he has recorded all that question and answer. Swamiji Shishya Samvad, Sharat Chandra Chakravarti. He was a Sanskrit scholar. Whatever that might be, Swamiji was very free with him. So one of the questions he boldly asked was, Swamiji, at the time of giving up the body, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he transferred some power from his body to your body, as if it has been recorded that like 2000 volt electric power got transferred from his body to yours. What was that electric power like thing which got transferred? Now Swami Vivekananda told, no electricity, no power transfer. Then what happened, Swamiji? That Divine Mother Kali, note it very carefully, Swami Vivekananda himself tells, the Divine Mother Kali, who was taking shelter, was living in the body of Ramakrishna. On that day, she came away from that body of Sri Ramakrishna and entered my body. From then onwards, she's sitting on my head and shoulder and making me work and work and work. She's not allowing me to take even a single moment of rest. She's constantly making me work. So that Divine Mother Kali was living in the body of Ramakrishna. She came away to my body. So Sharda Devi was none other than Kali. Ramakrishna also, it was Kali. Nobody could had the capacity to withstand the Divine Mother Kali in that body. Is it a joke? When once Ramakrishna prayed to Divine Mother, "Oh Mother, why have you given only 1/16 of your power to Rakhal, Swami Brahmananda?" Then afterwards he told, "Oh, that is enough for him to do the work." But on the contrary, the whole, Ramakrishna used to tell, the whole power of Divine Mother Kali was manifested in Vivekananda. So that was a great respect Ramakrishna himself used to give Holy Mother Sharda Devi, Shiva, Sakshat Shiva. So Subodhananda respected Swami Vivekananda and used to, when they were compared, who is greater, Trilinga Swami? Yes, Trilinga Swami is best, the top amongst the men. But who is Swami Vivekananda? Swami Vivekananda is Sakshat Shiva, Shiva himself. These were the words told by Subodhananda, and he used to tell, if anybody criticized, anybody spoke ill of Swami Vivekananda, immediately Ramakrishna would tell, clean that place with Ganga, or remove that 7 cubits of earth, because that place has become impure because Shivaninda has taken place there. So Subodhananda used to respect Swami Vivekananda as Shiva himself. So now we will stop our discussion. We will give some time to question, and also if you have any doubts or questions, you can ask now. Any questions, any doubts on what we have discussed? Okay, there are no questions on the YouTube live chat. I can conclude with the closing prayer. Om प्रियतां पुण्डरीकाक्षः सर्वयज्ञेश्वरो हरिः तस्मिन् तुष्टे जगत्तुष्टं प्रीणिते प्रीणितं जगत् हरिः ओम तत्सत् श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु थैंक यू नमस्ते ओम नमो नारायणाय